So glad to be back in the room. Tonight we are starting a new series called Love Letters. How convenient you all chose to wear red, because we're getting close. If you're not prepared for this, Valentine's Day is approaching very fast. And so what we're doing this year is we're just going to take a couple weeks to talk about the awkward thing in the room, which is love. Love makes you do some really weird things. Is that fair to say right off the bat? I'll explain this a little more. Have you ever looked back at a letter that you've written someone that you wrote someone, whatever, I'm a pastor, I don't know how to talk, that you loved, and you read it back and you're like, this was so cringy, I can't believe I said that. Or you look at a message or something. Well, I found a letter that I wrote to Madison, my wife, in 2018, after a great spring break trip. I won't rip it in half. Here we go. See this big heart on the bottom? Okay. This is what I said. It says, Madison, thank you. This is so cringy. She knew I was reading this. Okay, here we go. Madison, now I'm having second thoughts. I asked her for permission. It's fine. I really did. That's true. Madison, thank you so much for the best spring break of my life. I'm sorry my handwriting is so bad. My blood sugar is high. LOL. You mean so much to me. And I'm so thankful for who you are. You are wonderful and amazing and perfect. I want to hug and kiss you. I love you so much, heart DJ. Now, while I do stand by that statement, I'm not going to lie, I also want to vomit. And the funny thing is that even me saying this at a time in the past to Madison is the worst thing in the world because she hates that stuff. It means nothing to her when I say stuff like that. And so she vomits knowing that I ever even said that, let alone me reading it, because that's so not her thing. So love makes you do weird things that are awkward, like writing in a letter and saying, I want to hug and kiss you. But this is an excuse for me to just show some cool wedding pictures because I got married this last summer, and I did it one other time, thank you. And this is just a really quick flex for me, so check out this first one. So I cried a lot. I thought, I actually had this internal fear that I wasn't going to cry, and that was going to hurt her feelings if I didn't. But then I just couldn't stop crying the whole day. But don't worry, she cried too. Check out this next one. We both cried a lot. And so then this was after here's our little celebration with the rose petals there. Is there one more? Don't show that one. Nope, sorry. You weren't supposed to see that one. Tonight we are starting a new series called Love Letters, and just to put us at ease to where we think this can go, I want to just set some expectations for this series, because we're going to talk about a lot of really heavy things through this series, and I acknowledge that this is one of the most awkward topics in the whole entire world. I totally get that. But over the next 3 weeks, we're going to talk about love, we're going to talk about dating, and we're going to talk about sex. 3 really important words in your culture today. Now, you can disagree with me. I think that apart from Jesus, this is one of the most relevant topics in the life of a student today. Would you agree with that? It's something that we're all thinking about. So we're starting this series, and when it comes to these 3 things, we find ourselves at a lot of different stages. We may be having the completely different questions at love, and these things are really heavy words. They're confusing. But this is also one of the most shame-filled conversations that exists in the church and also out of the church. Just in general, things about love and about dating and about sex include shame for basically everyone. It's one of the most shame-filled topics that we can really talk about. It's such a huge deal that we talk about this. So I want to start with just a few expectations, a few ground rules for what we're going to do through this series. Number one is that we will talk about awkward things. This is something that we just always do at Movement. We talk about a lot of the difficult topics and the things that are relevant to you, but the thing is that it will always be backed by truth. So none of this is going to be an opinion of me or an opinion of Heartland, but instead this is going to come from Scripture, because that's what our ultimate guide is. Number 2, because everything we talk about is backed by truth, the ultimate truth is that with Jesus, every day can be day one. There is no shame, there's no condemnation, there's nothing like that when you believe in Jesus and are right with Him. And so we want to just invite you into this series, knowing that we all have baggage and that there's lots of difficult things that we walk through. But this is a safe place for you to come and just maybe experience freedom for the first time, or renewed in that freedom, or whatever it is. We want to invite you into that. And number 3 for our Love, Sex, and Dating series is this: eye contact just got weird. So if you look at someone for too long, it's just uncomfy at this point. So that is rule number 3 for this series. So tonight, I want to start here. God designed us for love. This is something that's true for all of us. God actually designed us for love. He designed us to love and also be loved. This is something that's like innate. It's just in the wiring of who we are as a person. God would not create us in his image if we weren't to be loved. And so this is just who we are as people, as we were designed for love. And with that, it's a really powerful thing. Love can influence your decisions. Love can influence the way you spend your money. Love can influence the way you write a letter, a lot of different things. So it's this really big and difficult and heavy word, and it's a powerful thing. And I think that when it comes to love, there are a couple camps that as humans we just fall into when we're thinking about this topic. Now, this list is not exhaustive, and if you were a part of Movement last year, you might hear we're not doing the exact same series, but some of this is just true stuff that just happens all the time. So the phrase God designed us for love is something that you may have heard before if you were a part of Movement. If you haven't, that's okay. I'm glad you're here. But this is the sentiment that we truly believe that you were designed for love. And there are a couple camps that we're going to just walk through tonight that we may find ourselves in on our journeys with just this topic of love. So tonight is just all about the topic of what is love. Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Thank you. Anyway, so this is our topic for tonight. And there's a couple things maybe that we fall into. The first one is this. God designed us for love, but we get confused. Does anyone relate to this at all? And I'll explain it. Maybe we can relate to this even more. Love was designed for us to feel and experience just like all of our feelings and emotions. And love is a good thing, but as humans, we really, really sometimes get confused about what love is. Has anyone ever heard of The Golden Bachelor? That show confused me. That's weird. Now, I don't know that it's like weird. It just felt really weird. All of the Bachelor shows in general feel weird to me. And people leave with questions. They're confused about love when they leave The Bachelor because they're like, wow, I really thought that me dating 10 people at the same time would work, but it doesn't. That's so weird. And shows like Love is Blind. Has anyone watched Love is Blind? Yeah, we stream that. It's a show where people are just supposed to kind of not see each other and trying to figure out, they're asking this question all the time, do I love this person? Does this person love me? Maybe they start asking questions like, what happened to what we had? They're familiar questions that we all sometimes ask, right? This is just the truth about the way things go. Shows like this are really popular because they just really kind of strike a chord within all of us about experiencing love, and it's just a hard thing because we actually put a lot of pressure on ourselves when it comes to love. We put a lot of pressure on what we're trying to do or what we're trying to achieve, and so a lot of the questions that we start, a lot of the weight that we start putting on ourselves are things like this. We start saying, I have to find the right one. I have to date the right way, and I have to do the right things and not the wrong things. And if I do the wrong things, it's the end of the world. I have to set the right boundaries. I have to feel like I'm in love all of the time. Because if I don't know if that's really love. And I have to I have to handle things the right way and breakups the right way and getting back together the right way. And will I find the person that God chose for me, or is this person even in God's will for my life? And maybe life experiences have confused love for you just in general, or made you question if love is even necessarily real or something that is for you. When it comes to love, we just have a lot of questions and a lot of experiences and factors and things that happen inside and outside of our control that make it really difficult to just figure out what is love? What is this difficult topic? On Instagram this last week, I put a poll on my personal story, not on the Movement page. I put a poll on my story, and I just asked, what is the definition of love? And I had about 18 people respond to that story. What's interesting is I asked for what is the definition of love. Now, I don't know about you. When you go to a dictionary, most of the definitions are basically the same. They may have a little bit different wording. When you look up the definition of a word, it's usually pretty similar. All 18 shared different things. There was nothing that was even remotely close in an answer. They were all just widely different. Some of them said things like Chick-fil-A, but some of them also said things like putting someone's needs above your own, which yeah, that's a great answer, which so is Chick-fil-A if you ask me. But we kind of are on this range where all of us, because of our experiences and because of where we're at on this journey of life, we have these completely different answers of what love is. And so a lot of times when we try to get into a relationship or a friendship or whatever, it's difficult because we may have completely different expectations and understandings of what love is and what it looks like to love someone and what it looks like to be loved. Oftentimes we just kind of aren't even on the same like footing jumping into a relationship or whatever. So love just gets really difficult. And as a bottom line, it's just easy to say love is confusing. Anybody agree with that? The second camp you might fall in is this: God designed us for love, but we crave it. Now, I want to just call something out right from the start. We truly believe that God designed us both to love and to be loved. These are things that God wired within us. But there are some negative ways that this can actually impact us also. Sometimes we just don't always get this totally 100% right. So we maybe need constant validation from people around us, or we need to feel this true feeling of acceptance, or maybe we become really needy, or we live with a fear of rejection. Sometimes we just have these we want everyone to love us. We people please so that everyone can love us. There are different ways that we just crave this feeling of where we get people's approval. We try to fill an emotional void in our lives. And sometimes you actually might have to prove your love for someone to a group of people by physical affection or different things that if you have to prove your love to people by being physical or whatever, or doing things in public, if you have to prove your love to anyone by just doing things, that's just that's difficult. I don't know how to where to categorize that, because love is confusing, and this idea that we can just achieve it or that it's something that we have to do in the right ways is just something that's difficult to do. The last thing is this: it's that God designed us for love, but we underestimate the power of it. Does anyone agree with that? You can disagree with me, that's okay. Love is a really powerful thing. It's something that's really powerful. I'll save you a lot of the science and the statistics, but there are scientists and psychologists who have studied and learned that, long story short, love can physically rewire your brain. And if you want to know how this plays out, maybe you've had an experience like this, or maybe you haven't, where something that happened in a relationship or in love actually changes the way that you respond to a certain type of situation, or changes the way that you respond to a certain type of touch or a certain type. Love just is this super powerful thing that has the ability to change our emotions and change the way we think and behave, and it's this super powerful thing. But it's also something that we all can say that we pretty much just jump into. We're ready for it. And despite whatever experiences we've had, we just feel oh, you know what, I'm ready for the next one. And I'm not calling anyone out, and I'm not saying that anyone does this in particular. It's just something that humans do. I'm not saying that there's anyone who does this. I'm not calling anyone out. I know in my own experience, I've been in 3 relationships my whole entire life. There was a 2-year, a 3-year, and I'm married. And I waited 6 days between the 2-year and the 3-year. 6 days, but because I felt like I was just ready, and basically that whole entire 3-year relationship was actually me just trying to recover from everything that happened in the first one, because that's just how painful and how powerful love can be. It's this really powerful thing. And in a world where we're searching for love and questioning what love may really be, tonight I want to just open up the Bible and kind of unpack some of this. This is so good. I forgot about this. Thanks, DJ, for remembering. We underestimate the power of it, and love is just this confusing word, and I want to just quickly show you. I told you I'd save you from the stats. I actually want to show you one. This is a graph that shows the number of people who have searched for what is love since 2004. So you can just kind of see it kind of just has this steady decrease along the route. Now, if we look at a flip side of this coin, the Google searches for something else, how to find a partner, actually have been on a steady increase since 2004. So there's this interesting thing where searching for how to love and what love really is has decreased, but searching for someone to be with has increased. This is just this super crazy thing. I don't know if anyone else will be surprised by this, but I was surprised by this. Only 88% of Americans say that love is an important factor to marriage. Now, maybe that lands different with you, but to me, I'm going whoa, I kind of thought that was the point of marriage was love. And so it's just this, there's a lot of it's this really big word that's difficult. And the Bible actually offers us a lot of insight. And the Bible historically has been called God's love letter to us. That is messed up and super weird, because if that's a love letter, there's some weird stuff in there. that I feel really uncomfortable with if that's kind of how God is it's just a weird, I don't know. I don't love that sentiment, so we're not going to call it that. I just think that's kind of weird. But we're going to be in the book of 1 Corinthians today. If you've got a Bible on your phone, you've got a Bible with you, I'd love for you to pull it out. Would love for you to use that. We're going to be in 1 Corinthians 13, sometimes called the love passage. So 1 Corinthians was written to Corinth, and it's this town where there have been some theologians and people who've wrote some books that said that love was basically this concept that was completely absent in Corinth at the time. And so they just really didn't have a concept, and the questions they were asking, this is super interesting. Earlier I was saying, what is love, and do they really love me, and do I really love them? These are actually the same questions that the people in Corinth at this time were asking in their communities. And in their gatherings, and when they were in relationships, and when they were in school and different things, the questions they were asking were what is love? And how do I find someone? These are questions that we ask all the time. And in Corinth, love just wasn't something that was really something that was being floated around. And so this is where Paul is kind of, what he does with this passage is he gives kind of a definition in a roundabout way. So I asked, what is love? And if I asked it in the room right now, I have a feeling we'd have 40-some totally different opinions on what the true answer is to that question. But Paul actually does a thing where he just tells us some things that it does, and some actions that love is, and some things that it is not that I want to unpack tonight. And we're going to start here in 1 Corinthians 13 is where we're going to be, just verses 4 and 5. You've got it on the screen, and you got it on your phones, whatever you're reading. It says this: love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It doesn't boast. It's not proud. It doesn't dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. So what Paul does is he kind of gives just an analysis or a description of just some things that love is that we're going to pack. And there's some really important words in here. This next one kind of highlights them. I don't know if you'll be able to see them or not, but there's words like patient and kind, and doesn't envy, and doesn't boast. It's not proud. These are some kind of big things, and just for the rest of the time tonight, I want to just unpack a few of these things for us and kind of talk about what these are. So the first word is patient. It comes from the word patience. This is a word that maybe you're aware of or you've heard before. What it means is this: the ability to wait for something. So you may have heard this a lot when you were a kid, when you were waiting in line for something, or when you were ready for food or whatever it was, and one of your, a parent or someone would tell you oh, please just be patient, or different things like that, or when you were ready for whatever it was. It's just the act of, or the ability to wait. So really what this means in our context for the series is this: that it never pressures a person, You provide as much space as needed to someone. When you're patient with someone, whether it's a friend or a special friend, right, or different things like that, it means that you're actually not going to pressure that person to do something they don't want to do. You're never going to push them too close. You're going to always try to provide as much space as they need. This is what the word patient is, and here's why this is important today. Because love is where you're going to practice patience, and love isn't just simply waiting for something good. Love is actually waiting for something better. There are lots of things that are good in the world that exist all over. There are lots of good things, but what Paul is encouraging us to do and what Jesus is inviting us into is actually to wait for something better than just a good thing. Patience is a really important virtue. The next one is this: kind. So what this means is takes into consideration how the other person feels at all times. This is what kind means. You're taking into consideration what people feel or what the person that you're with feels. Now, here's the thing. Here's the second thing about this. It means that you're not going to string people along. Has anyone ever, maybe you've seen a friend that has strung someone along, or this is a common thing really in our society, but being kind is just being kind to people and to the person that you're with. And the next 7 kind of qualities that Paul gives, these will be pretty quick. Paul actually, what he does is he's responding to things that are present, and he's telling us what love doesn't do. So he starts getting into some doesn't. The first one is this. He says that love does not envy. This means that it refuses to be jealous. That you let them have the glory. You don't have to one-up them or put them down. And here's just a red flag for you. If this is a sentiment that you hear, this is a red flag. It says, I don't feel good about me, so I need to make sure that you don't feel good about you. Things aren't going great for me, so things probably shouldn't go good for you either. This is a red flag if you kind of feel this sentiment from a friend or from someone that you're with. This is not a loving thing to do. at all in any way, shape, or form. The next one is this. It doesn't brag. It doesn't boast. It's not proud. It's not prideful. It doesn't think that they're better than. It doesn't view a person as a commodity. It's just you don't have to have all the glory, and you can let the other person have some of that glory. So you would never put someone down. You would never talk down to someone. This is just Paul is saying that these are actually really simple things that a lot of us just do in general, but these are great rules when it comes to love. The next one is this, not self-seeking. There's not a K in there there's not a K. So apologies for that. But not self-seeking is what that means. It doesn't seek its own honor. It means that you put the other person first. Now here's the thing. It means that you put the other person first over your own correctness or your own sense of humor. What does that mean? You may be totally right, but it's not the most important thing. Whatever problem or whatever, you may be able to problem solve really, really, really well, but that may not be the most helpful thing in the moment. And you may have a really funny way to respond to a certain situation. You may have a really snarky comeback, but that's not the most important thing. There may be really some funny things or funny jokes that pop into your head, or maybe some inappropriate jokes that pop into your head, but that's not the most important thing when it comes to loving someone well. It's not self-seeking. It's not needing that humor. It's not needing that type of a comment. It just means that you're willing to put someone above you. The last one we're going to cover is this. It says it does not dishonor. Now, I love the way the Message version puts this. It says, the Message is just a translation of the Bible. It says this, it doesn't traffic in shame or disrespect. Doesn't traffic, so it's not kind of weaving in and out and turning and taking left and right turns and coming back around. It doesn't do that when it comes to shame or disrespect. So really what that means in the context of this series in love is that you would never want to do anything to create regret for someone else. Hard truth tonight is that nobody wants to be someone else's regret. That's a heavy truth, but I think as we think about the topic of love and we think about the topic of dating, this is something that is just true for a lot of us. And maybe we've created regrets for another person, or maybe we've created our own, or someone has created them for us, and it's just this really heavy, awful thing that we can live with for a really long time. I don't want to discourage you for 1 second, but regrets and shame is not something that just goes away pretty quick, and you've probably figured that out by now already. The truth is that we all have regrets. Outside of dating and outside of love and outside of sex, everyone has regrets. And the point of this whole series is actually that we want to just help you be able to date better and to love well and to interact with your world in a healthy and right way that's Jesus first. This is a really important topic. This is a really, really important topic just in the season of life that you're in. But here's the thing, in the season of life that you're in now, love will not be important. It's not that love will not be important in the next. It's something that will continuously be important in your life because it doesn't just come to finding a partner or finding a spouse. It doesn't just come with your friends or your family. It's something that impacts every part of your walk. Love is just this really, really, really big word that means a lot. And so the point is that we need to take time and take space to unpack kind of what this really is. And this is something that we're really passionate about here because we think this is just a really big deal for us in the phases of life that we're in. So we're going to start a practice tonight that over the next couple weeks I want to just invite you into. And here's what we're going to do. I have some envelopes up here, and you're each going to get a red one, a white one, and an orange one. And inside, and you're also going to get a little tab that has 3 stickers on it. Everyone's going to get 3 envelopes and 3 stickers. In those envelopes, there's just a little note card, and it's just blank. Oh my gosh, pens. You're going to do this in small groups because I didn't bring pens. Cool deal. So you're going to go find those people when small groups start. That's a classic DJ move right there. You can grab some? Sweet. He's going to go grab pens. Everyone give it up for Shib. Woo! Everyone's going to get 3 envelopes, and inside those envelopes, there's a note card. And on that note card, what I want you to do is this. There's 3 prompts up on the screen. There's one for each envelope. And it says this, the first one, if you could write a letter to your past self about love, what would you write? It's just a couple sentences. I don't want you to write a lot. We're not going to take a long time doing this activity, just a couple minutes tops. But if you could write a letter to your past self about love, what would you say? The second colored envelope is this. If you could write a letter to your current self about love, what would you say? What would you write to yourself? If you could write a letter to your current self about love, the way you are right now. And if you could write a letter to your future self in the last envelope, if you could write a letter to your future self about love, what would you write? Now, with these, you've got some stickers, and all three of those envelopes will be sealed with those stickers, and nobody's going to read them. We're not going to open them. We're not going to look at them. We're not going to pass them back out and have them passed around or anything. They're going to stay sealed, and they'll remain sealed, and we're just going to get rid of them at the end of this series. But over the next couple weeks, we're going to kind of answer these same type of prompts. We're just going to put them in this mailbox right here. That's why the title of this series is Love Letters, because there's some really important stuff that we need to talk about, and maybe there's some processing that needs to happen, because here's the truth. We all have regrets. Here's also the truth. Every day can be day one with Jesus. There's no shame. There's no condemnation. There's none of that stuff that exists when you live in the grace of who Jesus is as a person and what he did for you. So in just a minute, you're going to get a pen. Maybe you've got a pen already. You can start writing. In just a minute, you're going to get a pen. And just be thinking about, as we're waiting, what you would write in that letter. It can be really simple. It can be really short. It can be a sentence. It can be a couple sentences. But just be thinking about what you're going to write in that letter. And in just a second, there's going to be some just kind of soft music playing in the background that Davis is going to play for us, because we're also going to give it up for Davis, who runs our tech back there. Everyone say, yay, Davis. There's going to be just some soft music that's playing in the background. And I just want you to spend a couple moments and just think about if you could write a letter to your past self. In my own experience, I don't know. I would probably say something like, it gets better. Like maybe that would be a good one for me. Or maybe surround yourself with friends to be accountable with. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that you could say. To my current self, I'd probably say something like, keep trying to learn how to love better. There's not a point where you've just got it figured out. And to my future self, I don't know, that's maybe the hardest one. But wherever you find yourself at, just spend a couple moments writing your letters. When you're done, you can take the sticker and seal them, and then here, I'll leave it open for you. You can just drop your envelope in this letter in this mailbox, and then you can head to small groups. So just spend a few moments to your past self, to your current self, and your future self. If you could write a love letter, if you could write a letter about love, just spend a couple moments, write those letters. You can seal them. They won't get opened. And then when you're done, you can drop it in the mailbox, and you can head to small groups.